On Friday, the Supreme Court temporarily blocked the Trump administration from using a centuries-old wartime law to rendition people in this country to a gulag in El Salvador. The court also ordered the administration to give people time to challenge their removal and exercise their due process rights. Now, the Trump White House is facing near constant rebukes from the courts at every level in an ongoing standoff over its immigration agenda. And the administration continues to escalate tensions by, for instance, arresting a sitting member of Congress, or charging a sitting member of Congress, I should say. This week, the Justice Department issued charges against Congresswoman LaMonica McIver over her oversight visit to an ICE facility in New Jersey earlier this month. Now, today, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, of course, that's the agency of the government that's overseeing all this, Kristi Noem, was before the Senate, where she had to answer for this administration's extreme and, in many cases, it seems to me, facially illegal deportation tactics. But she couldn't even answer a very basic question about one of the pillars of Anglo-Saxon law going back a millennia and our Constitution related to due process.
Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
I'm joined now by Jon Tester, who served as a Democratic senator of Montana for 18 years. He's now an MSNBC political analyst. I wanted to call you Senator. I guess I'm just going to call you John.
Perfect.
Okay.
That works.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. You served 3 terms in the Senate, and you had a lot of opportunities to have members of an administration come before you in hearings. Republican, Democrat, cabinet level, sub-cabinet level. As someone who's covered this, it seems to me there is just a night and day difference between the quality of these folks and what they know in this administration and what had been the norm before that. Like Kristi Noem seems on her own category. Does that jive with your experience?
Absolutely, especially after watching the previous segment that you had with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Same thing with Kristi Noem. They got to do their homework. It's part of their job to know what's going on and what's going on in their agencies. And for Secretary Noem to say that she doesn't know what habeas corpus is and what due process is, and in fact goes further than that and actually gives the wrong definition for it, shows me that they're not taking Congress seriously and Congress's oversight, which they should take very seriously, by the way, because if Congress ever took their power back that they've given to the executive branch, that they would once again be able to hold these people to the standards that we've been used to during the 18 years I was there. And we had some really good people who headed Homeland Security, and we had some really good people who headed Health and Human Services. Unfortunately, right now, those and some others, by the way, really haven't done their homework, and I don't think they understand the jobs that they were confirmed to do.
This point you made, I want to stay on for a second. This sort of institutional prerogatives that, again, in the time that I've covered Congress, look, there's this sort of partisan axis. The members of the president's party are way more, amenable to that president, to that White House. The other party is way more antagonistic. But also, there's a kind of fiefdom effect, right? We come together and we appropriate these funds, or we put this into law because we expect you to do X, Y, and Z. That seems so far gone in this Congress in a way that I've never seen before. And I wonder if that feels the same to you, that there's something different here now.
Yeah, I think the Congress has ceded all their power to the executive branch. They have ceded it all. Now, look, they're doing oversight hearings, and that's good. But the truth of the matter is the president can do anything he wants right now. And Congress doesn't step up and say, whoa, 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 that's not in your authority. That's in our authority. That's our decision to make. Tariffs is a prime example. That's our decision to make. It's not yours. And consequently, we don't have 3 co-equal branches of government anymore. What we've got is we've got an executive branch. We've got a legislative branch that's AWOL, and I know those folks. They're good people. They know better than this. Dig up Robert C. Byrd. He would give you a lecture on why the legislative branch is so important if we're going to maintain a democracy. And then, of course, we have the courts. And the courts are trying to do their job, I believe, so far, if the executive branch listens to them and follows their orders.
That point on the tariffs, I mean, it really is astounding. The president on the big tariff announcement day essentially announced the largest tax hike unilaterally in basically 60 years in dollar terms. He's continued to essentially, futz around. He pauses one, he jacks this one up, he brings this one down. You wrote this in the Montana, this is some of the stuff of how this is playing in Montana. You've got Montana farmers who see Canadian trade drying up, troubled by tariffs. The effects are hitting them left and right. And you've also said that, this mega bill is a disaster. But I wonder what you think about what Congress should be doing about these tariffs and what it means for the folks that you used to represent.
Congress should take their power back, and they should be the one applying the tariffs. I have more confidence in Congress doing the job right than I do President Trump, because quite frankly, he's botched this up pretty badly. And in an agricultural state like Montana and many others, you get in a trade war, guess who the biggest losers are? They're the farmers. And that's why this farm bill that came out of the House that's going to go into reconciliation is so bad. You don't want the market to be replaced by subsidies. That's not what farmers want. They want to go to the marketplace. They want to get a fair price for their product, and they don't want a bunch of handouts by the federal government. And that's exactly what's going on here. Instead of fixing the root problem, and the root problem is we need those markets and we need competition in that marketplace. What we're going to do is we're going to hand out hundreds of millions of dollars to farmers to try to make them whole because of the screw-ups that this administration's done.
Yeah, it's so crazy. You wrote about this for MSNBC, that the same House Republicans who decry socialism on one hand are pushing American farmers to take more money from the government, less from the marketplace, which sounds a lot like socialism to me. We had this in the first Trump administration when the sort of trade war skirmish with China, and they just sent a bunch of checks to farmers. It's just such a bizarre thing to replace actually growing product and selling it to not selling it and then getting checks from the government, which just doesn't seem like what anyone wants to be doing, including the farmers.
And it shouldn't be something that Congress wants to do either. It's not sustainable. And quite frankly, on this reconciliation bill, they're increasing the national debt with it. I mean, really? I mean, you're going to cut all these services and you're going to give checks to farmers, and you're going to increase the national debt, and you're going to give tax breaks to the uber rich in this country. Look, Congress has not been exactly stellar in the work they've done. The time I was there, you would oftentimes shake your head as to what they did and what they didn't do. But the bottom line is they could do a better job than what's being done right now by the executive branch. But that needs to be done in a bipartisan way, and you need to listen to everybody, and you need to come up with common ground, and then you move forward with bills that make sense. You don't just say, President Trump, it's yours. We're not going to do it anymore. We're not going to do what the forefathers intended and have three co-equal branches of government, which is what they need to do.
Jon Tester, who's got a long experience dealing with all this. I appreciate you coming on tonight. We'll see you again soon, I hope.